Okay, right. So we said we were going to work through the quizzes and just make sure we have a record of all of these. So this we're starting off with quiz one, which covers the first two sessions. Which of the following is usually a function? Yes, a function of management accounting. So we know that taxation is to do with financial accounting, providing an opinion on the final accounts. Is more to do with financial accounting. Providing final accounts is again financial accounting. So we know that we're really focusing on costing information here. So that's the first one, providing costing information. Question two. The issue with this question is that all of them look as though they could be all right until you spend some time focusing on what's being said. Look at this one. It says information provided should be relevant to any situation. Well, that's just too much information. Our focus is on the situation that affects us, so this can't be true. Let's look at this one. Information should be provided as comprehensively. That's again too much information, because it's asking for too much comprehension, too much detail. The quality of the decisions does not depend on the quality of the information. That's just not true. The quality of the decisions may depend on the quality of the information. And typically, we agree and accept that the currency, that information should reflect the current situation, yes, or the current circumstance that you have in a scenario. So the answer there is the third one. Let's look at this one. We've been talking a lot, haven't we, about variable costs lately in class. And so definitely the variable costs, this cost varies as a function of the level of output. I think we agree with that. Definitely the first one is correct. Costs are usually assumed to be linear. Yes, we agree with that. Remember, we argued that there is a linear situation going on with that. As costs increase, these increase as well. Unit variable cost is constant for all output levels. This is the assumption we make as well, isn't it? That the unit cost itself doesn't change as you increase your output. And rent is a good example of a variable cost. This is not true. Rent is a good example of a fixed cost. So the only things that are true here are the first, second, and the third. Yes, the first, second, and the third. Okay, let's look at what's happening here. It says that on the 1st of May, we had 160 units in stock, yes, valued at 7,520. So we can come back to that. Well, I suppose we can do it now. We can find out what the cost of each unit is. So we can say, what is 7,520 divided by 160? 7,520 divided by 160. And we have 47 pounds. So we know it's 47 pounds per unit. That's what we know of each of these units, don't we, right? Okay, no problem. And then what happens is that on the 8th of the month, we buy in another 200 units, right, at 48 pounds each. Then we issue to production 150 units. Now remember, it says we're using last in, first out. So that means that the 150 come out of this bunch. And so we now have 50 units left. Oops, sorry. We now have 50 units left, if you like, from that event on the 16th of May. Then it says you buy another 250 units at 50 pounds, not a problem. And then you now issue to production 325. Now remember, you are using last in, first out. So you're first of all going to get rid of these 250. Then you're going to get rid of these 50. And then you are going to get the last 25 from here, because that's 325, yes? 250 plus 50 plus 25, leaving you with inventory here of 135 units. Right? Imagine this was sand. So the question here is that this question is asking, what is the value of issues to production for the month of May? And that's everything in blue. That's everything in blue, isn't it? Because I just kept it in a different color just so that we're clear. So first of all, we have all of these units, the 150 and the 50 at the 48. So we have basically the 200 units at the 48 pounds. Then we of course have the 250 units at the 50 pounds. And then finally we have 25 of those units at the £47, yes, at the £47. So let's just do that. So we have 200 times 48, which is 9,600. We have 250 times 50, which is 12,500. And we have 25 times 47, which is 1175. I add all three together, 12,500 plus 9,600, and I have 23,275. So your answer there is 23,275. Okay. This is the next question. The thing about this question is I think maybe if you first look at this and you can't quite see what's going on, it'd be good to use some numbers. Let's assume that you're buying units of whatever. I think we would the previous question we just did, what I don't remember, were they chairs or tables? I don't remember. But imagine you're buying these units in batches of 100. So on Monday, you buy a batch of 100 items at £50. And on Tuesday, you buy a batch of 100 items at £60. On Wednesday, you buy another 100 of a batch at £70. On Thursday, you can see where I'm going here with this, at £80. Now, here's the thing. If prices are rising, that's the point here. If inventory prices are increasing, which is what we see here, right? Which method of inventory valuation, as in is it LIFO or FIFO, would lead to the highest value of closing inventory? And now be careful, when we say highest value of closing inventory, we mean how do we value the inventory that is left in the warehouse at the end of the day? Well, if this is increasing, it means that if we're using whatever method, that when this comes in on Monday, if we issue goods out on Monday, we're issuing these goods, right? If we're issuing goods on maybe say early or late Tuesday evening, we're issuing these goods out to production. So the goods that are left will be these ones in the warehouse. So it obviously means that if we're using a FIFO method, first in, first out, we will see higher values of closing inventory, right? And that's kind of the point here. If you're using a LIFO method, these goods will leave first, and therefore you will have the lowest value of closing inventory under LIFO, right? And the weighted average method will just weight everything out. It'll be just almost impossible to, it won't be the highest or the lowest, it'll be in the middle, right? So the answer here is the FIFO method. Right, so this question is asking for the cost of labor and is telling us that this person is paid £6 per piecework hour. And really what we're looking here is what is the cost of labor. So we need to find out the number of piecework hours, right? So they produced 12 units in, if you like, half an hour, if you like, in terms of piecework. So we get the total for product A, so that's 12 times 0.5, which is equal to 6. And then we have 8 units times 1.6 piecework hours. So 8 times 1.6 takes us to 12.8. And so we add the two together, and then you have 18.8 piecework hours. And at £6 per piecework hour times 6 takes us to 112.8. 112.8, and that's the answer, if you like, for this question. Right, let's look at this question. It says here that a worker is guaranteed a minimum wage of £80. So what we're saying here is that whatever happens, they're always going to get £80 if what they work for is less than 80. So it says here that we pay £1.50 for shifts up to 55 units, and then afterwards we pay £1.55. So we have two shifts here, where this first shift is for 50 units. So we have 50 times £1.50, which takes us to £75. But because they are guaranteed a minimum wage of at least 80, they will get 80 instead, right? So they're going to get £80. That's That's what's going to happen. And in this case, what will happen is that, oops, sorry, what will happen, well, actually, it's interesting, oh, that's an interesting color. So they will now here get £1.50 up to 55 pieces, and then they'll get £1.55 for the additional five units they make, making a total of 60, yes? So £1.50 times 55, £1.50 times 55 takes us to 82.5. And £1.55 times 5 is 7.75. So add these two together, so 82.5 gives you a total of this shift here of 90.25. So you have 90.25 here, you have T here, add those together, and that's 170.25, right? And that's how you get that. And that's what's going on over there with that, 170.25. Right, and finally, a question on process costing, right? Process costing. So really what's happening here is we need to first of all understand what went into this process. So you had 1,500 liters of chemical at £2 a liter. So you have £3,000 of input costs going into this. And so if you so you have initial input, yes, of £3,000 going in. And then you have other costs, right? Other costs of 3,555. And so you have a total input of 655. And that's what's really happening here. The question says that you're expecting to lose 10% of that, of those liters. So 10% of 1,500 is equal to 150. It says because you're expecting to lose that, we can value that at 50p a liter. We can almost create its own stock, if you know what I mean. It means that the remaining stock should be valued, if you like, as for what it is. So we can say, therefore, I mean, let's find out the value here. So 150 times 50p, of course, is 75 £75, isn't it? 150 times 50p is £75. So what we're saying in effect here is that we can spend, we had initial input of 655, but we're not going to get £75 worth of stock. We expect to lose this, or to move this and put it somewhere, so to speak. Think of it that way. And the expected output would of course be 1,500 minus 150. So what we're really saying is that we're expecting to come out with 1,350 units, and those should be valued, if you like, at 6,555 minus the 75, which is 6,480. Right. So we're expecting that each unit should be worth 1,350, worth £4.80. Right? Each unit should be £4.80. So that's the plan. Now that we know that, what we now realize is that actually what happened was this. So in the end, we actually had output of 1,250 liters at £4.80. We were expecting to lose 150 liters at 50p, and therefore we have this abnormal loss, if you like, also at £4.80. If you like, I mean, that's the case because this is what we were expecting, 1,350 to come out. Unfortunately, we've lost 100, but that 100 is valued, if you remember, at the £4.80, right? Think of it as it being stolen or inefficiencies, but that valuation is what we expect it to be. This was the value of what we have now extracted from here that can go into a cupboard or something because it has value, right? So this question is asking, if the output is this, what is the value of this output? It's literally asking, well, what's the value of this? Well, because that's the output, isn't it? So 1,250 at £4.80. Yes, 1,250 times £4.80 is £6,000. And so your answer there is £6,000. And I believe that brings us to the end of quiz 1.